One of the great resources here at the Voice of College Football is, of course, Matt Zemek of Trojans Wire. You can catch his work right there on a regular basis concerning, of course, USC football. And, of course, March Madness is right around the corner, and the USC basketball team very prominent in those discussions. Absolutely. Let's get back to football, though, Matt. Good to see you as always. Chad Bowden. So we recognize that name from football, but for him, it's related to baseball. And he is the new general manager at USC. And this is quickly becoming one of the hot button roles or positions, titles to be tracked in college football to see how well these programs are going to do going into the future.
Yeah, Mark, good to talk to you again. And obviously, for people wondering what's been happening to us, don't worry. Like, we're going to be revving this engine up in April for spring ball. So don't you worry. Now, the spring games might be canceled, but the Voice of College Football is only going to amp it up in April. So want everyone to be assured of that. So Chad Bowden is the hot topic at USC in terms of football. And it's really good for USC. Like, we're seeing the recruiting wins come in. Got a 4-star defensive lineman from Southern California. Like, so they're already beginning to retain Southern California-based talent, which is something that Lincoln Riley struggled to do. And they seem to have the right architecture in terms of their NIL and overall recruiting shop, because Chad Bowden has hired assistants from Illinois, from Wisconsin, so from Big Ten schools, but also from the Midwest. So, like, situating USC to compete in a Midwest context. And I think the underlying point there, Mark, and for everyone watching here at the Voice of College Football, it's not just about recruiting the Midwest. It's about, like, having the style of play, getting the kinds of players that can compete in the rugged, physical Big Ten, stockpiling depth, being strong in the areas where USC did not have as much muscle as it needed in the trenches each of the past 2 seasons. And it was a little bit better last year than it was in 2023, but still the depth was a problem. So that Bowden and his lieutenants from these other Big Ten schools, they get it. Like, certainly right now, it seems they get it. And the other point to emphasize from a USC standpoint, Mark, is that Dave Emmerich was supposedly the general manager. He had a background from Mississippi State. Lincoln Riley brought him aboard. And there was kind of a sense, okay, he's supposed to be the general manager, but like the whole operation wasn't functioning at full speed, full efficiency. And there was a debate among USC beat writers, people who followed the program. Okay, is this Dave Emmerich guy, is he the general manager? Like, is he doing everything that a general manager is supposed to do? There was confusion there. There was uncertainty there. There was a lack of specificity there. So it's not just that Chad Bowden comes from Notre Dame and he helped Marcus Freeman build something really good and he knows what he's doing, which of course is the main point. But it's also that there's now specificity in terms of roles, designations, assignments. There just seemed to be an aimlessness. USC seemed to be adrift structurally, organizationally. And so it is great. Like, USC is now operating like a big boy program. The USC put on its big boy pants, everything in alignment. And one of the things that attended the hire of Chad Bowden as general manager, there was an announcement made by, Lincoln Riley spoke to this in a media availability session when it happened several weeks ago. He said, Chad Bowden's going to be running the show in recruiting. See, we hadn't heard that at USC, that there's going to be someone who's in charge of the recruiting piece and Lincoln Riley can go coach his ball club. We had not seen that delegation, that separation of roles and assignments. And so this is great. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to look. Like, USC now has the professionalization, the expertise, and the specificity in its infrastructure of, everyone has a specific role to play in terms of getting the best possible rosters. This is the professionalization that Oregon and Dan Lanning have had from the jump. And so that's really leads me to this next point, Mark, and everyone watching here at the Voice of College Football. Why did this take 2 flipping years? Why did this take 2 whole seasons, 2 whole cycles for Lincoln Riley and USC to figure this whole thing out? Why were they sitting on their hands? Why were they so behind structurally in terms of knowing what it took to set up the right recruiting and player acquisition shop? 2 years just spent wasting away. And of course, 2023 was a waste because Alex Grinch, was kept aboard. Lincoln Riley just wasted 2 years of his life, of his career, of our time by just not having the full professionalization. He figured out the defensive coaching staff last year. So it took him 1 burned year to figure that out. It took him 2 years to figure out how to align his overall football shop. And I will say that while Lincoln Riley spent 2 years kind of stumbling in the darkness, Jen Cohen, who, for context here, she came aboard in the summer of 2023 as athletic director. And again, the expectation that Jen Cohen certainly had, if you came aboard, Mark, put yourself in Jen Cohen's position. If you came aboard as USC athletic director in the summer of 2023, before one more Caleb Williams season, on the heels of his 2022 Heisman year, when USC won 11 games, made the Pac-12 title game, played in the New Year's Six Bowl, you would assume as the new hire at the AD spot, hey, this is going to be pretty good. Like I'm coming into a job at the right time. This is going to be a Lamborghini. It's just going to be roaring down the LA freeway at 100 miles an hour. And then everything went kerplunk in that 2023 season, as we know. So Jen Cohen, I give Jen Cohen a little bit of leniency here because she came to the job expecting that, she was inheriting a roaring engine, something that was already functioning at a high level. Jen Cohen did not expect to have to do a repair job. So Jen Cohen kind of scrambling and being a little bit behind the curve for a year. I can expect that. I can accept that because that was not her expectation when she took the job. But Lincoln Riley, when he came aboard, it was like this was supposed to cook right away. And actually he did cook in year 1. And then for it to fall off the way it did in year 2 and then year 3, I can cut Jen Cohen some slack. I'm not going to cut Lincoln Riley some slack. He's supposed to be on top of things. And he was a young coach to begin with, right? It's not as though Lincoln Riley's 55 or 60 years old. We're seeing some of the older coaches tire of NIL and the way things have changed. The sport's not the way it was when they came into the business in their 30s, in their 40s. Lincoln Riley doesn't have that excuse. He's a young coach. He's supposed to be on the cutting edge all the time. He's supposed to be the hip with it, savvy guy who, just was hired by Oklahoma before turning 35 and immediately started to crush it. I'm just baffled that it took 2 full seasons for Lincoln Riley to understand everything. So great for USC right now. Trojans seem to have gotten everything in order finally, but why the heck did it take this long?
Yes, to extend on the final point, a man of Lincoln Riley's age and also his tendency to be viewed as not necessarily a visionary, but somebody that's up to date with the current times and what's going on currently. We're not talking about what was Alabama under Nick Saban or Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, where you could understand they might be slow to change and adjustment and pushing back against what's happening with NIL and the transfer portal, Dabo Sweeney at Clemson, something like that. So it's a bit perplexing from that standpoint. Point number 2 would be, while that's what USC football appeared to be on the surface with 11 wins and nearly a college football playoff appearance and everything that you just mentioned, we knew better with Alex Grinch running the defense, most notably that the warning signs were there that all was not hunky-dory with USC football entering 2023. Another point here that is not unique to USC football is this dynamic of taking on these general managers, where we have these college football coaches who by nature are control freaks, they're paranoias, and they're taking on what is basically an NFL model where they used to decide everything, and now they have to turn over a ton of responsibility to a general manager who goes out and buys the groceries to a certain extent.
No question. And maybe that was the thing with Lincoln Riley, because we know Lincoln Riley is an intensely proud person that like he does think that he's the smartest guy in the room. Like he's the super genius, to use the Wile E. Coyote term. Like he's the guy with the plan, the blueprint, the mastery, the knowledge. Like that Lincoln Riley takes pride in that kind of thing. And maybe that was it. Maybe and it was hard for Lincoln Riley to let go of Alex Grinch. So he made a staff change and thought maybe that would be good enough. No. You need to think bigger, much more organizationally. It's not just about hiring a really good defensive coordinator, Danton Lynn, which he is. But you're losing Southern California to Dan Lanning, to Ohio State, to the other national programs that are playing in the college football playoff, that are playing in the Rose Bowl, that are playing deep into December and into January. So, he finally saw the light. But again, Lincoln Riley is a smart guy. And why it took 2 years for him to finally get out of this stubbornness, we talk a lot about ego in sports. And, the idea that this guy has an ego is a bad thing, that gets oversold. That gets overrated. You have to have a big ego in this business. You have to believe in yourself. You have to walk in a room and own it. Click, clack, I'm the baddest dude around. You have to have a big ego. But in Lincoln Riley's case at USC, the ego has gotten in the way of seeing the bigger picture and being willing to delegate and rethink structurally. So Lincoln Riley's ego has served him really well. It's made him one of the greatest quarterback teachers of all. Jalen Hurts, now a Super Bowl champion. That's another addition to Lincoln Riley's quarterback whisperer identity. Look, his skills are towering in terms of teaching the game, teaching quarterbacking, teaching offense. But we all know in the NIL era, in the era of the transfer portal, this whole new universe for college football, the coach's job description means you have to understand the structure of the sport and how to get players. And Dan Lanning, though, his in-game coaching still leaves a lot to be desired. Structurally, he saw things from the jump. Now, some people will say, yeah, he has Daddy Phil at Oregon, and Nike apparatus to help him out. Coaches at Oregon didn't automatically succeed. Willie Taggart didn't succeed. Mario Cristobal was decent, but not great. He didn't. Cristobal did not hit it out of the park. Dan Lanning's recruiting, being at the high level it was, you can't not just anybody can do this. You have to have the skills and the awareness and the intelligence to put all the pieces together in terms of player acquisition. Dan Lanning understood that from the start in ways that some of his Oregon predecessors did not. Mark Helfrich, to give another name, guy who failed on his own after Marcus Mariota left. So Dan Lanning is uniquely skilled in these new age aspects of a coach's job description, and Lincoln Riley got caught flat-footed for a couple years, and only now is he beginning to catch up. And it's good in the immediate term, but man, 2023 and 2024, what a waste of resources at USC.
Yeah, once you went down that path, I was going to go the Helfrich route as well. Here we are years and years later, and we don't have any indication that anyone has sniffed him in regards to trying to lure him to a head coaching position in college football. And he's been relegated to FS1 broadcasts. And this is a guy that coached in a national championship game after he was handed a near elite program by Chip Kelly. The College Football Show comes your way Monday through Friday on the main channel, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Give me a call. We'll talk college football with you. Again, that's Monday through Friday at 4 Eastern. Matt's works at Trojans Wire, of course, as he takes you through March Madness and, of course, into spring football with USC.